Hi everyone, my name's Craig Hamilton Parker. I'm a psychic. I've been making predictions about the future of the world for a little while now and seem to be getting a few things right. So these coming up are my predictions for 2019. These are made in September 2018 and I'll put the exact date down here on the screen when it's actually being uploaded to YouTube, so you can check, that these things are not in the news at the moment. These things are kind of not already stories that are on the boil. And I'll make some more predictions in December and break them up into shorter videos for you. But this one's a fairly long one because I'm going to cover everything in this video. So what have I got right in 2018? Quite a lot. Some of the most important ones, I think, was Prince Harry gets married. That happened unexpectedly to the press. I talked a lot about the environment, actually, and I talked about a fire in Hawaii, and that happened. I talked about problems with Vesuvius, which I thought was going to actually take off, as it were, but there was some quite bad activity round there. And I talked a lot about hurricanes in particular, and you'll see that some major hurricanes have hit America, and I talked about the typhoons hitting the Far East, that there was going to be record ones, and that has happened and hit at places I said. You'll also see there's a number of things I said about Europe, but also one of the most important ones there was about the German race riots happening in Europe, particularly these are beginning to, at the time in September, talking now, be on the news quite a lot. And I talked about a terrorist drone attack, which you will remember there was an assassination of the president in Venezuela, and he was hit by a drone. And the strangest one of all was I said that there would be a fire at Trump Tower, and that happened. I also spoke about fire in Las Vegas as well, and there was, of course, the terrorist attack in Las Vegas. Whether we can interpret that as fire, so that's debatable. But look, I get some things right, I get some things wrong. I think on the whole I tend to get a little bit more right than wrong, but you can check me out, look at my predictions, and they're on my website at psychics.co.uk, and you can check the archives to see what I get right, what I get wrong, and what might be pending perhaps. But coming up now are my predictions for 2019. Okay, these are my predictions for 2019 for America, made in September 2018. Now, first one. Trump challenges Putin over Syria. Now, this is my first prediction, and I think we're going to have serious problems this year in Syria, but this time a conflict between Russia and America. I don't think it'll go out to a full-out military conflict, but I think it will be a gradually escalating conflict with Russia that is going to give the world a lot of problems, and there'll be a lot of worries about this. I think we may see troops posted to a nearby country, somewhere like Israel, or that might be a bit too dangerous to do that, or somewhere like Saudi Arabia or a friendly country. As if we're making a statement, we're maybe putting the fleet in the Mediterranean nearby. So I think there's going to be a lot of saber rattling regarding that first prediction, which is that Trump challenges Putin over the Middle East and Syria. I also feel, talking of Donald Trump, that he'll be taken ill during 2019. But I don't think this will be a major serious thing that will take him out of his presidency or anything like that. I don't think it's life-threatening. But it's maybe something like a perforated bowel came to mind, something like that, something quite serious but not going to kill you. But he may be unable to do the job for a short period of time, and during that time, of course, people are going to swarm in to try to push him out of office again. But and I also feel that there could be within the Trump family some problem with an accident of some sort, a near fatal. I don't want to say fatal because I don't think it is going to be that, but I feel there could be a problem with something like a car crash or something. I was getting this feeling of this around the Trump family. All right, so I saw something in cars associated with it. You'll understand that when we do these psychic predictions, we don't always just hear it like, you know, ticker tape coming off the machine. We get pictures, we get images. So that's how I have to describe that to you for 2019. Now, I talked about this in 2018, that there would be an attempt to impeach Trump. And throughout 2018, really, they haven't actually impeached him at this stage. We're talking about in September. But I've said that it would fail, you know. And really, the attempts to impeach him have failed. And I don't believe Trump will be impeached at all. I think there will be continued attempts throughout 2019 to impeach Donald Trump. But I think he'll get through. And I'll add this in too. I think he'll get a second term in his presidency. Now, obviously, that's not coming up in 2019, but I feel in the future, and I'm making my statement now in 2018, that he will have a second term as president. And that, at the moment, I think seems against the odds, because people, as I'm speaking, are all endeavouring to chuck him out. I think also, just keeping on the Trump theme, there will be some new scandals surrounding Trump. They're going to throw even more at him. But despite all this, now in 2019 we've got in America what they call the midterm primaries. Now I'm in the UK, I don't understand all the politics over there, but normally people at that time, once you're in office, you normally find your ratings drop pretty bad. And I think the votes usually go against the people that are in power, whatever country they are. But I think Trump will do surprisingly well, considering the strong movement against him. So although he may drop a bit in the primaries, as it were, his voting polls might go down a bit, I think it would go proportionally to what happened to other presidents. I don't think it would be quite as bad as everybody anticipates. I think he'll fare fairly well. And I think at the time there will actually be new scandals in the air. And yet I still think he survives. So it's a very strange thing, isn't it? Everybody sort of condemns Trump. Everybody says he's going to be out of power. But I think he continues. I also feel, just keeping on that theme a little bit, I'll talk about these things in part further on in the videos, but I think the American economy is going to do very well. People are talking about, oh, the bubble's going to burst there and everything's going to go wrong, but I still think the American economy is going to keep storming ahead through 2019. Now, on other things, I also, keeping on the theme of USA here, I think we've had this year, we've had in 2018, we've had a lot of hurricanes and things, which I predicted last year. I think we're going to get earthquakes in the USA through 2019. We're going to get serious seismic activity. I don't think this is the big one in California. I don't think we're going to get that, so don't start panicking. And remember, I'm fallible, please, because don't go panicking when I make these predictions. I treat this as a bit of an experiment, please, people. But I do feel there's going to be a lot more seismic activity in the USA. Again, we'll still have another bad hurricane season, and a lot of flooding and fires through America again. I mean, I'm psychic, I see those things, but at the same time, the environment is burning up. As I said last year, in 2017, for the time I'm making this, that, you know, we're going to see also the sun heating up too. It's not just us damaging the environment with all our plastic and everything, but I see the sun heating up as well. So I think this is a long-term thing. So expect more troubles, I'm afraid, particularly in the USA. And I feel there's going to be some catastrophe also in Canada. I feel there's an environmental problem in Canada of some sort. It might be in the nature of a huge forest fire. I see somewhere in the northern hemisphere happening that. But later on I'm going to talk about a meteorite strike that I feel is going to hit Russia, the north of Russia. Not massive, but cause fires. Now, just coming back to Donald Trump again, I feel Donald Trump's gonna cut a sort of a landmark deal with Pakistan. Now, this might not sound the most important thing to most people, but I feel this is going to put a lot of pressure on the Arab world to change its ways. He would use economics as his way of dominating the world rather than military initially. He's going to put pressure on Imran Khan, who the cricketer, who's now in charge in Pakistan, as it were. And he's going to do an economic deal in return that he drives out terrorists and extremists. And I think America's going to actually help to finance that in a way, to actually help them, prop them up. We'll do you a good deal if you get rid of these guys. Otherwise you get nothing from us, right? And that's the attitude he's going to take. But this is going to use positive trade deals towards getting a political solution and military, and stopping us having to do military solutions. The only problem I sense with all this is I'm feeling these extremists are being driven out of Pakistan and into Afghanistan. So I worry about Afghanistan in my mind. I was seeing more conflicts in Afghanistan as we push out the terrorists from Pakistan. It's like it's got to go somewhere. So I'm seeing more conflicts there. And I'm seeing conflicts also in Pakistan with China. In Pakistan too, as if China's trying to put its reach into Afghanistan. There's something about that I was feeling, an argument over maybe mining or something like that. Now, going back to Trump again, because you can't talk about America nowadays without talking about Trump, because he's such a dominant character. But I was seeing on the news about Rudi Guliani, the guy that used to run the mayor of New York. Now again, I'm British, I don't know all the ins and outs of American politics, but I was getting the feel, and they were saying, oh, this guy's really good for Trump, he's going to be the man, And I feel that Trump's going to promote Rudi Guliani, sorry, my gut, sorry Americans, my pronunciation's wrong, I think. But I feel he's going to be put into a high office of some sort, I think he's going to be put into a high position. But then I got the feeling that this guy's going to really stab Trump in the back. He's just going to let him right down and almost hope to make a stab later to become the president himself one day, which I don't think he will succeed at. So I see problems there. I also feel that NASA's going to announce a new project. It's going to be a new moon base project. It's not going to actually happen within 2019, but I feel there's going to be a project to build a base on the moon. And this was what I was thinking about this. I was seeing about this. I remember that movie, The Moon. I was getting flashes of that when I was doing my meditations, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. So that's why I kind of treat this with more credence in when I get these predictions. And I just got this. I saw this like the mining. So I thought, well, maybe that's what's going to happen. So I get the feeling NASA's going to talk about mining these things like rare earth metals and things like that. Rare earth metals, I think they're called, that type of thing, from the moon, as if they're going to make the first steps towards it. And this is more like a bit of a Kennedy sort of thing, like when we're going to go to the moon, Trump saying we're going to mine the moon, because it's like it's political in a way. It's like making a statement. How much comes from this, I don't know, but I see more funding going to NASA generally. And just finally, I'll make some more predictions about America later on in the year in December. But one of the other things I saw, and again this happens in 2019, I saw, not a very nice thing to say, but it came to me, and I saw a celebrity suicide. But not only did I see a celebrity suicide, I saw something about a celebrity suicide pact, like two people killing themselves simultaneously, not by accident, like a deliberate thing, like a suicide pact. And that's a high celebrity thing, and I really don't know who that is. I think it was a man and a woman, I felt, when I saw this. But like I say, we don't get these things just like in black and white newspaper headings. I just get the feeling of it, and this is how psychic people usually tend to work. You tend to get impressions. It comes like a dream from your unconscious. But anyway, those are my predictions so far for 2019 for the USA. these are my predictions for the UK for 2019, being made in September 2018. Okay, the first of my predictions is that Theresa May goes. When she goes, we all ask. My feeling is that she survives until Brexit. I feel that she's going to want to see the job through, as it were, and actually in her mind wants to make her name in history by being the person that gave us Brexit. And so after the 29th of March, when Brexit happens and the deal is done, she's going to resign immediately afterwards, and that will be the end of her, I'm afraid. As for Brexit, I predicted Brexit in the news before it, when everybody thought Brexit would never happen. That was one of my early predictions that people picked up on when I do this work. And so I've always kind of had a strong sort of connection with the whole Brexit idea. And all the way through I've been saying it's going to be a hard Brexit, it's going to be a hard Brexit. So I'm sticking with what I've said up to now, and I still feel it's a hard Brexit. Even though they're trying to make all these different deals and give these other ideas about how it's going to go, give us alternatives, I think it's going to be taken right to the wire. And we won't get a deal until just a few weeks before we step out. We won't get any sign of Europe giving in or giving any ground until after December 2018. So we're going to go right up to the wire, and at the last minute, all of a sudden, oh well, perhaps we can do something anyway. And it's going to be Germany and France is going to put the pressure on to make sure that something happens, because they know that their economies are going to suffer the worst in Europe when this happens. It's going to be the car industry in particular that's going to press for a deal of some sort. And I think we might even get agreements on the border in Ireland, but I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. But so that's my first prediction about Brexit. It's going to get a last minute deal, and it won't work out as bad as everybody thinks. We will get something. So I think Theresa May has to hold her ground on this, because my feeling is that's what's going to happen. She's going to stick with it. I don't think they're going to oust her before then. It's going to be very close, but my feeling is that what I was seeing was this hard Brexit deal. It's going to be hard. There's going to be a lot of disruptions. So my next prediction is that there's going to be Brexit disruption. I don't think it takes a psychic to tell you that. But I also feel the problems that we get from it, and there will be some initial problems, but I feel they cool quickly. There's initial chaos, and particularly at the ports as they're worrying about. I see all that happening. I see trade flow improves very quickly. People are very quick to make sure they can still make money. And I don't feel there's going to be the medical shortages they've been going on about and worrying about. All that's a negative. I just don't see that happening. So as a psychic, I'm saying my feeling is it's not going to be as bad as you think. It's going to be fine. There will be a hard Brexit, as I said, but on this prediction I want to say there will be no Irish border. And what I mean by that is, my feeling is what's going to happen is where they just can't get a deal on the Irish border, my feeling is that the British government are going to turn around and just say, well, leave the border open. You've got more to lose than we have. We'll just let goods flow into Europe through Northern Ireland. And I feel that it will be Europe that decides there has to be something put in place, some form of border. So all the fuss they make is, I think, in terms of they wanting to protect themselves. So the problem with this type of prediction is we have so much information with us already, and I'm always worried that my own unconscious mind is somehow influencing these, or my own opinions are influencing these. But I feel if there's a border ever built, it will be built by the Irish, not the British. Okay, and again, I don't think that's going to be as big a problem as everybody fears. I think they'll work a way out. It'll be done. It'll slow things up, but they'll find a way. So that's always had my feeling right back from that. And you'll read my very early predictions about Brexit some time ago, that I foresaw a lot of this, and that's what I still stick with it. It seems to have happened. Everybody's talking about the pound crashing at Brexit. I actually feel the opposite to that. I feel the pound soars in value after Brexit, and I feel investment is huge in Britain after Brexit. And they're talking also at the present time, as I'm making these predictions in September 2018, of a property crash after Brexit. Again, I feel the opposite. I feel that it's all been holding back, and everybody's been scared to buy or sell properties, and I actually feel a surge after Brexit. Not immediately, but in the period of 2019 itself. By the time we get to the end of the year, I think property will be doing very well. So there's been unprecedented activity in the City of London. I don't think it takes a psychic to see that. But I do feel this, my gut feeling is completely contrary to what they're telling us. My gut feeling is there's going to be a general improvement after an initial fall. So I mentioned a while back too that there would be a new political party formed. And the Sun picked up on that before and did a whole page about this thing about my predictions about a new political party. Strangely, since I made that prediction, there's been loads of talk about the formation of a new political party. So I kind of got the theme right in the prediction. It's not happened yet. So I'm going to stick with that prediction again for 2019, because I still have this feeling that out of all this chaos prior to Brexit and after, and the extremism that's been happening now in the Labour Party, I feel that we're going to get a new political party formed, because I feel that the Tories are going to go further right, the Labour are going to go further left, and there's a vacuum. And so I was seeing this, 2 years ago I talked about this. Now I'm feeling it's going to happen, and I feel it's going to happen in 2019. We're going to get a strange mixture of people, because we're going to get people like Tony Blair getting involved and coming back into politics, certainly trying to help the formation. But we're also going to get Tory people in this as well, and we're going to get a middle ground centre party with a new name of some sort. So I've spoken about that before, so that's not a brand new prediction from my point of view, but it's something I feel will happen. Now, the leader of the Tories, when Theresa May goes, my feeling there's going to be a battle between two main characters. We've got David Davis is going to be one of the front runners, I feel, and we're also going to get Boris Johnson as one of the front runners. So I think there's going to be a battle fought out between those two. Rees-Mogg, I think, is going to step aside. So we're going to get a battle for the Tory leadership between Boris Johnson and David Davis. David Davis coming back into politics in order to do this, I feel. In the end, I feel Boris Johnson will become the leader of the Tory party, and David Davis will concede and become sort of his right-hand man, as it were, with a high position in the Tory party, perhaps deputy leader or something like that. But that will happen after Theresa May will resign after March. So we're talking about this sort of battle going on and it's in April time of 2019. And I feel that I feel it's going to be a very close call between David Davis and Boris Johnson. But my feeling is that Boris Johnson wins the day in the end. How long he stays in power, that's another prediction later, I think. I feel after that, again in 2019, we've had Brexit, we've had a change of policy, we've had a change of leadership in the Tory party, and I feel quite soon after that we'll have another general election. Great. So 2019 sees perhaps the new general election being called late in that year. Perhaps we're talking about September time or something like that, or we're looking at maybe calls for it to happen in 2020, but certainly I feel that it's if Boris Johnson now has to reaffirm himself as the front runner in the Tory party, and that he's been elected, not just hoisted upon us, as so often these leaders have been. So, and I see so that's what I'm seeing there. And that's at the same time, I'm just looking at my notes here as we see the rise of the new political party. So the next general election will be a very interesting thing, because it will be a four-horse race. My feeling is the Liberals will be on the decline, and I think we're going to see Corbyn still in power, which is going to be and reaffirming his power and getting stronger within the Labour Party. Despite it 2018 we're getting all sorts of problems about anti-Semitism and things like that, they're going to go far left. So it's going to be a four-horse race between this new party that will evolve at the same time. And I'm not talking about UKIP or that type of party. I'm talking about a new centre party with kind of milder ideas, and also the idea of going back into Europe too. So I did mention earlier about the property market around Brexit, and I've got another prediction here in front of me. I should cover this one a bit more. Property market ignites. So we're going to actually see a great boom in the property market in the UK, I feel. And the government's going to bring in a new help to replace the Help to Buy scheme, and they're going to put something in that's going to really reward first-time buyers, to get the money really with the people that want to get on the property ladder, and stop the two home buyers taking advantage of things. So it will be something like a big boost. It'll be something like stamp duty, but it's not quite that. It's something that just rewards the very, very first time buyers. It's something like a government mortgage or something like that, a government way of helping you get the deposit. Government free money at the start. It's like you can borrow up to £30,000 and it's going to be secured by the government, and you don't have to put it up yourself, and you pay it back slowly at a low interest rate. Something to get the markets moving, and I think that's going to come in. It's going to be a lot of these type of incentives coming in Brexit time to get the economy moving. They're going to throw everything at the economy to make sure it soars ahead and we don't get any form of recession. There might be inflation troubles next year because of this. So also keeping on the theme of business, when I was doing my meditations, I also saw business bribes happening. I saw some real issues with corruption being in the news. So in particular, I saw a sort of a top company as kind of accused of fixing their cheating in a big way, and doing a big international deal that involves bribes. It might mean that some British company loses out a lot of money and deals because of like an arms deal or something like this. Something might have been Saudi Arabia that's involved with it, or the Middle East. Something like that was the feeling. And I said British, but actually one of the things I felt with this is there seemed to be a Scottish influence to this story. There's something about it's connected somehow with Scottish industry or something that's happened in Scotland. And I actually felt that somehow Nicola Sturgeon is implicated. I'm not saying she's done anything wrong like that, but I'm saying that somehow she's implicated. It's kind of reflects on her. It kind of makes her look bad because she was somehow rooting for this company and something's gone wrong. So, and I also feel generally in Scotland there seems to be some more sort of like scandal politics happening there. Something big to kind of break up the Scottish nationalists. Okay, so some of that might have undercurrents of people deliberately politically trying to undermine Scotland, and there's a lot of Russian influences still in a lot of these things, possibly with Scotland and British politics generally. These sort of business scandals and political scandals I feel are going to be fueled by petrol thrown on the flames from Russia, and that will be exposed as well. Now, keeping on the business themes again, I had a strong feeling also that we have a problem in the high streets, And as I was doing my meditation, I kept seeing internet and I kept seeing domain names, .co.uk, the domain names. And it was like given to me the idea that what will happen is domain names will get charged rates, just like a high street shop gets charged business rates for being on a high street. So I was getting all this information coming to me, and the best I can work out what I was kind of seeing here is that the domain name will become rateable. So that if you have a domain name that has 250,000 visitors a day, that domain name then goes into a certain, or something like that, there'll be a number, that domain name then goes into a certain category that now becomes rateable. So it's not like over a certain amount of traffic, it becomes rateable, and you charge rates just as you would be on a high street. So a big company like google.co.uk would pay rates, and this would only apply to .co.uk British names. So I don't know if that's even feasible or possible, but I felt as if that would happen. And I also felt with this that they were going to bring something in where it's like if you got a big company like Google or Amazon or Facebook, you'll be forced to have other links on the page to competitors. So what I was seeing is sort of like, so if you went to Amazon, for example, you'd see a bar across the top, a frame on the page coming from the domain name holder. That would be amazon.co.uk. Not so before Amazon. Sorry, I'm complicated, but the way I saw it was like we used to have a frame on top of things, like they did on Google, on Yahoo in the past, and that frame, always on top frame, will have links randomly generated to other companies. So you might see on Amazon, you might see John Lewis. On Amazon, you might see the big name stores, which are all alternating randomly, selected randomly, so that we've always got other choices for those products, so we don't always stay on the big stores, and vice versa for any big domain that's got certain levels of traffic. This comes in with this high street idea, that domain is the street which they've got their properties, and it's like a real domain, right? And I saw that in particular for Google.co.uk having to be forced to have other links to Bing and so forth on the top of the page. So that's what I'm seeing. Whether that's just my thoughts and wishful thinking, perhaps, but I saw that as I thought, well, it's a brilliant idea of a way to change and force companies to share their traffic, and therefore, in a way, also save the high street and save the smaller businesses by forcing these leaks in the thing. But whether it would happen or not, I don't know. But that's what I'm seeing. And when I was sat doing my meditations for UK business, boom, I was getting all that, and it was coming out of the blue. So when it comes out of the blue, I treat it, as I said before, with some. I pay attention to it. And keeping on the ideas with this too, I see Google being brought to account in 2019 too. Google and a lot of the big corporates that are online will be taxed, and there's going to be a lot of loopholes closed for the big corporate companies. There's a thing out there, I saw a program years ago about it called I think it's called the Dutch sandwich, which is sort of like a loophole that so big corporates can shift the money out of the country and not actually pay tax on things. I see that one in particular being closed. So anybody watching this that's in those industries, I wouldn't buy Dutch sandwiches. They sound awful. I talked about in the American predictions about NASA doing expansion, but I also felt that there's going to be a big new announcement about a British space project as well. For some reason, I've got a lot of space things for next year, so I think it's going to be in the news a lot. So I saw big money investment into British space projects. And I predict also that there's going to be a partnership with NASA, and that's going to be announced. There's going to be some big American money. This is going to happen after Brexit. I see a big investment in British space, and I see a joint project. and possibly something too that's a very, not just business orientated, something that's very altruistic type of thing, something about pure science. There's going to be a new British telescope. This is going to be something to do, this is going to be something to counter CERN and all that. It's as if British science is going to have something really juicy that all the scientists want to come to Britain to work on. It may involve something, I felt, also with something to do with the study of the sun, and it has something also to do with producing electric in new ways, like new battery technology, for example, as well, and new ways of generating electric cars and things like that. The power is a power thing connected with this, and learning how to harness power, and it may have something to do with the sun. That's not just British not just British space, but British science generally. Big investment of money, and a lot coming from America, and a lot of this has commercial tie-ups with it too, so that Britain and America benefit from the inventions and what comes from discoveries. Now, on the money side again, I seem to get quite a lot of this when I did my meditation, because I think Brexit's going to have such a big effect on our money. I see Russian hacks on the British banking system. Now, we've had a lot of Russian hacks through 2018, the year I'm talking now, but I see major British banks and financial institutions hit all at once, and these simultaneous attacks are going to come on all the banks and all the credit card companies and lots of websites, and this will happen right on Brexit Day. It's as if we want to make things as bad as we can for Europe. And I feel this is kind of like Putin's revenge for all those attacks in Salisbury. You know, he didn't like getting caught out, and we're going to get one hell of a lot of cyber attacks. It'll be rooted all around the world, so we think it comes from China, we think it comes from North Korea, we think it comes from here and there, but my feeling is it comes from Russia. And so look out for that, particularly round Brexit Day. Weather in the UK, worldwide, we've got weather problems. I think Britain's going to have major problems with flooding. I was getting pictures of great swathes of the country seeing record flooding. Hardest hit, I felt, were the West Country and Lancashire. So get your wellies. And also, in these storms and things like this, I saw a ship, possibly a tanker, but I saw a ship sinking off the coast of Scotland, and there's some big pollution problem with that. First I thought it was an oil tanker, but I'm not quite sure I'm right with that. But there was something, a big ship thing hits the news off Scotland. Now, keeping with that same theme, actually, with the shipping and so forth, there's the business with the shipping, with the fishing industry, and I was getting pictures of major conflicts between the British fishermen and the French fishermen and the Spanish. I feel a bit like the time we had the cod wars with Iceland. We're going to have ships ramming each other in response to the French and Spanish still trying to fish in British waters. I see no compromises on this. I see large no-go areas, and I see people trying to fish in the marine reserves that are going to be set up. I also think there's going to be large parts of Britain that are going to be British waters are going to be made over to areas are set for recovery. So, i.e., no one can fish there. This is almost partly a response to stop the conflict, my feeling is. But we're going to see fishing boats at war. And finally, actually two more. Lastly, I saw now I didn't know this one, if I had to put this in my predictions for England or Britain and America, because I saw a big industrial explosion. And I have to say, I'm in two minds. I can't see if this is in the UK or America. And I can't go back and try to rethink these things because my own mind will start getting involved. But I was given this picture of seeing a huge factory explosion. And I mean a big one. I thought at first, it looked to me, because I saw the shapes that looked like the sort of the storage canisters for gas. So it looked like gasworks. But it could be something else, because there was also a sense of chemicals involved. So whether it's a big explosion in a refinery, or it's a chemical factory, or something like that, and I don't know if it's UK or America, but I'm putting it in my UK predictions at the moment, but it could be America as well. So that's that one. And finally, my last one is I saw Julian Assange making an escape attempt. Now, I get a feeling also that in the UK there's going to be quite a few, lot of street protests and political protests in 2019. And one of those happens around the embassy where Assange is being held. And I get the feeling that there's all this chaos. There's a shortage of police, because the police, I feel, are going to be really stretched in 2019. We're going to have prison riots and things, so they're going to be everywhere. The police scattered, and I get the feeling that Assange they're going to take the eye off the ball, and Assange is going to actually escape the embassy and try to get out the country. It's going to be an interesting, fugitive story. Okay, so that's my lot. And I'll make some more on the UK predictions later in the year in 2018 December, and I'll do some more predictions as things develop. But yeah, so that's it, and I'll move on to my next lot of predictions. These are my predictions for Europe 2019. I'm making these predictions in September 2018, and I'll make some more predictions towards the beginning of the year in 2000 all these 2000s in December 2018. But for now, these are some of my predictions that I see for Europe. Now, the first one is I feel that we're going to get elections in Europe after Brexit, and I had a very strong feeling that in Europe things are going to move to the far right. There's much more right-wing and Eurosceptic candidates dominating the European election successes next year. So I feel it's going to put a lot of pressure. I'm seeing a divide within Europe itself. Those that are all for Europe are going to swing further to that side, to the federalists, and all those that are against are going to swing even further. Basically, I'm seeing no middle ground happening here. I'm seeing very similar to what we've seen in America, and I'm seeing a stronger and stronger dominance of right-wing politics in Europe. Now, to make all this worse, I also saw moves to do things such as change the European flag, and also to bring in a European army. These things are going to become more, they've been around before, but they're going to be more and more dominant in 2019. Now, first, that flag business, I wasn't quite sure what I was seeing, because obviously we don't just take a star out when Britain goes. That's not going to happen. That's not what I'm talking about here. That's fictitious. But there was something about the feeling that they were going to try to do something to reinforce the European flag. And what I actually saw, you know, the way the American flag has the stars in the corner and then the stripes round it, it's as if every European country has to have this little corner piece put in with the stars in it to show that it's all part of the European, one European nation. So I see that being trying to be brought in, and pressure to do something with the flag. And maybe in my mind I'm also seeing that partly as a symbolic thing of the way ahead of what's happening in Europe, because my gut feeling is with this is there going to be real major moves to Europeanize everything even more, to bend, because of the British leaving. It's going to be a real attempt to pull it hard together, right? Simultaneously, we're getting so much reaction against this. This is why I'm seeing, I think eventually, my feeling is that eventually Europe as a unit is just going to fall completely apart. And when it really comes, it's going to come in one big go. But it's not going to happen 2019, but we're going to see the start of this in 2019. So we're going to see the flag in the corner. And I see moves to try to set up a European army. Now, meanwhile, one of the biggest supporters of Europe, Angela Merkel in Germany, I feel is going to fall from office. She's going to have to resign. I feel there's going to become. I feel in Germany there's going to be some major changes around the politics. Now, I don't know much about German politics at all, but I just get the sense that Angela Merkel's on her way out. It's as if she's going to go once and for all, and it's going to be very difficult for her, because I feel I talked in 2017 about the uprising of right-wing riots in Germany. We've seen it in 2018. We've also seen it in Sweden and places like that. And I feel Austria and the Eastern European companies, they're all going more and more right-wing. And I beware, please, because this is a dangerous thing if we start getting radical politics and we just try to ignore it. So I feel that this attempt at federalism in Europe is going to be so bad, we're going to actually see Angela Merkel leave office. I also feel that in Germany there's a lot of problems happening, not just with Angela Merkel leaving, not just with race riots happening. There's going to be next year, my words, there's going to be a huge flood of immigrants again into the country, and particularly all heading towards Germany. And I see also the German car industry, that's so important for Germany, in serious trouble. Now, that's not just because they've lost some of their export market to Britain, but also they're going to lose a lot of their export market to China. And most importantly, they're going to lose their export market to America, because I feel that Trump is going to pull down the wall and he's going to want to build up American car industry, and if that means sacrificing the German car industry, that's what will happen. Now, I mentioned just a second ago that there's going to be a new immigration crisis in Europe, because my feeling is, I mentioned in my American predictions, that there will be conflicts in the Middle East, this time around Syria and America and Russia at loggerheads, and more problems at that same area with Iran. And we're going to see a new immigration crisis in 2019. And there's going to be a surge of refugees again. And that's going to result in a lot of protests and riots in France, in Germany, in Sweden and Austria. We're going to see a strong resistance to what's going on there. Walls going up. And I feel with all that there's going to be a lot of problems in Europe. And finally, I think the euro is going to become very weak next year in 2019. And with the pound getting stronger, despite what they're saying, I feel the pound's going to be strong, and the dollar surging in strength as well. So the European economy will do badly, I feel, in 2019, and I feel the euro will lose value and remain weak until the end of that year. Anyway, that's my predictions for now for Europe. I'm going to do some more, as I've said in my other videos, in December, and we'll do it in more detail then as we get closer to the new year. But anyway, that's it for now. I'll move on to my next predictions. I hope you've enjoyed my predictions for America, for Britain and for Europe. And now here's a few predictions for the rest of the world. And I will expand these a little later on in the year, in December 2018. So I'm making these predictions in September 2018 for the year 2019. Okay, so my first prediction is riots in China. My feeling is that in China there's going to be a major financial crisis. Basically, the debt bubble is going to burst in 2019. A lot of pressures being put on China from a lot of different directions. China has been going on a record speed, and my gut feeling is that China will plunge into recession, and because of this, people will take to the streets. Now, those of you that have been following my predictions will know that some years ago I was talking about a revolution in China, that I feel the long-term destiny of China is to have a major revolution, a Tiananmen Square type of revolution, in which we see the advent of real democracy. And I said that wouldn't happen until China had its economic problems. And this is not deliberate from the fact that Trump and the rest of them are putting pressure on China financially. They're not trying to cause a revolution there, but I feel this is an unexpected consequence. And I'm seeing the Chinese economics beginning to cave in. A lot of scrambles to get everything right again. And I feel that the people will start to protest when they start seeing the lack of money. And there will be a surge of demands for democracy. So next year, 2019, I feel we'll start seeing really the first rumbles of a lot more to come. We're going to see some riots. We're not going to see a revolution in China, but we're going to start seeing major unrest and troubles. In Australia, I felt as if they're going to have some bushfires. Now, I know the Australians don't like to hear this, because when a bushfire goes in Australia, it sometimes becomes catastrophic. And I think we do have a bad one coming up in 2019. And I felt this was an exceptionally big bushfire. It's going to take a lot of work to put out, and I feel the area it's going to be around is Canberra. I felt around that area, around the capital, around Canberra, I felt was the problem in those areas. Another thing that came to me was I saw a meteorite hitting Russia. Now, I'm not saying this is some huge deal, end of the world, Armageddon, I'm getting out of here sort of thing. No, it's a meteorite hits Russia. It's more of something unusual and interesting. It doesn't cause huge troubles. It doesn't hit a city or anything. I feel it hits somewhere a bit like Siberia. There was one that happened some years ago, and during the First World War, I think it might have been, round about that time, I think. But I was seeing that type of all the flattened trees. That's what I was seeing. So I feel as if it makes the international news. It's nothing to worry about, but it's not a threat to the world, but it's a bit of a wake-up call at the same time that we should pay more attention to averting future problems, because my feeling is we're going to get more of these gradually over the coming years. Not huge great things. I'm not predicting end of worlds here and things like that, but I feel we're going to get more and more, and we may need for the very long term to look into ways to avert potential crisis. But I think it's something I see over the news. Okay. Now, returning back to Russia and again, and this time China. I remember in 2017 predicting for the 2018, I predicted that there would be a big military coming together of China and Russia, and we've seen that actually just at the time I'm speaking now, with big military exercises with Russia and China working together. So that was another prediction that came true. But I'm seeing now that China's going to actually start to buy battleships and more from Russia. Russia's going to start to see a big market there, and my feeling was I'm seeing Putin sort of ignoring the West and flogging a load of stuff to China, and this will be all sorts of hardware, particularly battleships and submarines and this type of thing, something that can go and fill up all those new ports in the South China Sea, right? So and because of this, it's going to put pressure on America and Japan, and I feel more and more troop build-ups in that area. It's making a bad situation there worse. I'll talk about let's just talk about South Korea North Korea a little bit here too, because Kim Jong-un draws closer to trying to make a reunification with North and South Korea. Now, I predicted that Kim Jong-un would be overpowered by his own people, that there will be an uprising there eventually. Now, my feeling there is they're not going to relent at all on the containment, that we're trying to stop all trade, stop everything going out. In fact, I think Trump's going to build that up, and I think eventually a deal will start to come. But I think it's going to be too late for Kim Jong-un, because even though we get to the point where there's nearly a reconciliation, nearly a coming together of North and South, and a lot of good news coming out there, but I think there's an uprising to pull him down. Kim Jong-un, and I've said this before, will try to escape. He'll rush to China, and he'll be another one of the fugitives. I talked about Assange as a fugitive, but I feel he'll be a fugitive from his own country. But that was something I predicted a long time ago. But I feel that this is also now becoming to come into its own now in 2019. So a lot going on in that whole area of the world, and that's going to be in the news a lot. Again, lots of typhoons and things in that area as well. So it's a volatile area in all ways. And I also feel that Australia will start to build up its own military too, because it's beginning to see and feel a danger from China. So we're going to see a lot of things happening in Australian politics about the need for building up weaponry and talking perhaps to America to do some deals together, right? So also, just keeping with the English-speaking countries, South Africa, I was feeling there would be a lot of violence. I feel uprisings there, and you know, like happened in when it was called Rhodesia, when they had all the problems with the land grabs and things like that. I see that happening in South Africa. I feel there's this land appropriation happening, and they'll be taking land from the white farmers and not giving any compensation, and I'm seeing armed clashes. I think it will be stopped somehow. I don't think it'll come to a complete meltdown like people might fear, but my sense is that in 2019 we're going to see this coming to a point where it's become international news. And I feel that the international community is somehow trying to jump in to stop all this happening. So that's going to be some problems for South Africa. And also, keeping with South Africa, I think there's going to be a lot of political vote rigging going on. I don't know if they've got elections in 2019, I'm not quite sure of that, but they have a National Assembly there, don't they? And I feel that it's going to be dissolved after a vote. There's going to be a vote, and there's going to be a recall, and there's going to be conflict, because I feel as if there's been exposed real major election fixes, and the judges step in to call for a second election. So in South Africa I see quite an upset period ahead, but at the same time it's a period where they do finally get through it. You know, it's like we come to the brink with these things, but we kind of put the lid on it. I feel it doesn't go completely out of control, but it is a worrying time for anybody in South Africa. Also, I want to just return again to the conflicts in the Middle East. I talked about this earlier on in the American section of what I've talked about here, and I spoke about new conflicts in there with America being drawn in. But I just want to look at Turkey for a moment, because I feel that Turkey will make a move to want to expand its borders into Syria. It's as if they want to move in and create a buffer zone where they can put all these refugees, so they're not in Turkey itself. And I get this sense of Turkey's borders expanding. I've said in the past that I feel Syria will eventually be divided up, right? At the moment it's completely clobbered by Russia, but Russian aid to Syria. But I feel that Turkey wants to expand its borders. But I feel there's going to be a lot of political wrangling between Turkey having to almost stand up to Russia. And I think Turkey might back down. So what I'm saying is, I feel Turkey might take military moves into Syria, and then Russia start to get seriously involved and threaten Turkey, and Turkey retreat. But there's something going on there. Now, I was getting images of that whole area. I was seeing large swathes of deserts being tried to turn into refugee camps. There's going to be, unfortunately, terrible troubles. And this will probably be still within 2018, actually. But in 2019, I feel Turkey is trying to make a stand. But it doesn't do very well. It's like it's trying to do something brave, and then it chickens out, right? Turkey chickens out. God, never mind. But anyway, sorry, it's not a good thing to be talking about wars and then joking about it. But I think Turkey has the potential to become a very powerful country. I was getting the feeling that Turkey could become the country that leads the Arab world like it did with the Ottoman Empire, and take over from the role that Iran has tried to have to dominate that culture. But Turkey, I feel, stand up for yourself. That's what they need to do. But they're scared of Russia, and I feel that's going to be in the news a lot. I'll try to give some more about that as it comes to me, because I've done an awful lot of predictions this year, and this has been quite a long video. I also feel, just keeping to other parts of the world too, I feel there's going to be some earthquakes in Nepal, big ones. Devastating earthquake in Nepal, I'm afraid. And I also feel, going back to Africa again, that there's going to be war again in Sudan. I'm sorry to say that, because they've just been talking about having peace, but I think a fragile peace is broken and war breaks out there again. Civil war. Anyway, I'll have to stop there, I think. I'm going to do some more predictions in December 2018. That's this year that I'm talking now. And I'll do some country by country, and do some more for countries like Mexico and South Africa and so forth again. So do keep following my channel, please, folks. I always appreciate it if people buy my books and things, and book the readings on the site. And, you know, one of the... I've written a lot about destiny, and whether destiny is fixed or we can change things, and I have a very strong opinion that we can change our destiny, and with it also change our personal destiny, and change the destiny of the world as well. It all depends upon our thoughts, make an influence upon the world. Our actions, of course, make a strong influence upon the world, and having a good positive attitude to things. So when I make these predictions, it can often seem very gloomy and gloom-monger sort of type thing, because I always have to pick up on what's going to happen. And if you look at the news, it's pretty worrying always. But if we can think positively, we do tend to have a better influence over things. If we do good acts in the world, that is a very powerful force, not just in our own personal lives, but in the lives of others. It's all about karma, about creating karma, because everything is the unfolding of karma, collectively and individually. And if as individuals we can do good things and do good karmic things, then we contribute to the benefit of the world at large as well. Anyway, I hope you perhaps have enjoyed all my predictions, and I hope you do read my books. In particular, I'd suggest Messages from the Universe and Mystic Journey to India, the book, because that's all about destiny and karma, and how I've tried to change the direction of my own destiny that was predicted in India. I'll tell you, it's an amazing story. And yeah, it's fascinating, the things that happened where I was told about my fate and how I could change it. So you might find that interesting. And if you're on Amazon Prime, you can get my video called Mystic Journey to India, where I go to India to do what we call the remedies. I consulted the Nadi oracles that told me my destiny, told it in absolute detail, including the day I will die. You know, where's a prediction to get, eh? And how to remedy and change things. And it got everything right. That was the thing. Got everything right about my past, everything right about what was happening in my life, and therefore everything possibly right about my future. So could I change it? Well, watch the movie and see how I went about it. Anyway, that's called Mystic Journey to India. It's on Amazon Prime. I've got a book of the same name, and also my first book where I started really getting interested in this and tells the story of my wife and I's work as mediums and things as well. Mystic Messages from the Universe. So that's three items there I'm telling you about. And of course, if you want readings and you want predictions for yourself, you know, look up me and Jane on the web, and we will also be able to. We also do private readings for people. Okay, that's my advert out of the way, and have a nice 2019. There's always going to be troubles in the world. Remember, this is an experiment. I am fallible. I don't get it all right. I get a lot of things right. Some things I get very right, some things I get almost right, and some things I get completely wrong. So don't sleep well. Don't worry about it. The world is always going to have its troubles, but we can always, as individuals, find a path through that maze. We'll find a way through, each of us. Just stay with it, and take a spiritual path if you can. Do good, and good comes to you. Okay, see you later. Check out our website for more stuff. You can book psychic readings with us and find out about our public events. Or watch our fantastic movie called Mystic Journey to India. It's a mind-boggling adventure that's now showing on Amazon Prime. And if you want to learn more, you can find out about my books and courses. Check out Messages from the Universe that reveals the ancient secrets of existence. Or read my book called Psychic School to discover and enhance your own psychic skills. Or how about What to Do When You're Dead, my book about the afterlife and what it's like. All this plus lots more, lots of new articles and videos, all on my fascinating website.